Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be sharing with you some of my favorite suspense thriller novels. So this is going to be part of a series that I've decided to do on my channel, and it's going to be like different recommendations for different genres of books that I really enjoy. There's not going to be like a number of books that I list, just some that have come to mind that I think that you guys might enjoy if you haven't already read them. A lot of these that I'm going to mention today are kind of popular, so you may have already read them, but I'm just going to dive into the books that I'm going to recommend for suspense thriller novels. These are in no particular order, so it's not from favorite to least favorite. I like all of these pretty much equally. The first one that I want to mention is Gone Girl by Gillian Flynn, and I read this book back in 2013 and I really enjoyed it. I know that a lot of you guys have either read the book already or have seen the movie, so you probably know what it's about. The main character's wife basically goes missing, and it deals with a bunch of different situations in the media and him trying to find his wife and all of these events that occur. It's kind of hard to explain without giving anything away. But if you haven't read it, I highly recommend it. It really kept me on my toes, at the edge of my seat. I loved it immensely. The next book that I want to mention is Mr. Mercedes by Stephen King. I read this book back in the middle of 2014, so this is not really a spoiler, but in the very beginning of Mr. Mercedes, there is this line of people that are waiting for like the unemployment office, and suddenly this man drives through this crowd in a stolen Mercedes, and he does kill quite a few people by doing this. So that's pretty much how the story starts out, which is pretty intense. But it basically follows a police officer named Bill Hodges, and he receives a letter from a person who is basically claiming to be the individual who committed this crime because he was never caught. So basically it follows that police officer trying to hunt this man down before he commits any other crimes. And this is actually part of a series. It is called the Bill Hodges Trilogy, and the second book has released, I can't remember the date, but it's called Finders Keepers, and I have not read that one yet. The next book that I want to mention is The Martian by Andy Weir. I'm not sure if a lot of people would categorize this book as a suspense thriller novel, but I found it to be very intense, and I found it to be a type of book where I didn't really know what was going to happen next. I read this book last year, and it was one of my favorite books of last year. I loved it so much, and I loved the movie too, but personally I prefer the book to the movie. And if you haven't read it or watched the movie and you don't know what it's basically about this man that gets stranded on Mars, and he has to find ways to cope with life on Mars and how he's supposed to survive, and it deals with a lot of scientific stuff, so sometimes the book can be a bit dry in certain spots if you don't understand what he's talking about, which I don't think a lot of people really would because it's really complicated, but it is very interesting and I really enjoyed that book. The next book that I want to mention is by my favorite author, and it is No Time for Goodbye by Linwood Barclay. This was the first book that I ever read by Linwood Barclay, and ever since then I have been hooked on his writing. He is an excellent writer. He has a new book coming out that's actually part of a series, and it should be here any day now because I pre-ordered it and I'm really excited about it. But No Time for Goodbye basically follows this 14-year-old girl, and her name is Cynthia, and she wakes up one morning and all of her family members have just vanished. And then it kind of jumps forward about 20 some odd years later, and she still doesn't know what has happened to her family. There's been no notes left, nothing to indicate anything that happened to her family. I think it was her mother and her father and her brother. So since it's been such a long period of time, it's kind of weird when she starts to receive like gifts from this weird anonymous person, and then there's a car that's parked in her neighborhood that's, you know, out of place, and just weird things start to happen. And it's basically like the person who may have committed a crime against her family 20 some odd years ago is back to get her. And I really, really liked it. As I said before, I highly recommend this author. I can't say that enough. He is such a good writer, and this book had me hooked from page 1. Another Stephen King book that I want to throw out there is The Shining. I was kind of hesitant to put this one in this video because I kind of consider it to be a horror novel, not so much a suspense thriller, but at the same time, while I was reading that book, I found myself to be very stressed out, very tense, like anticipating certain things that were going to happen and not really knowing what was going to happen. So I kind of have to put this in here. It may end up being in my recommendations for horror novels as well, but for now I'm just gonna put it in this one. Most people know what this book is about, so I'm not gonna go into it, and most people have probably seen the movie. I love both of them, but I do recommend the book more than the movie because the book has some stuff in it that happens that doesn't happen in the movie, and the book is much more intense in my opinion, and it really freaked me out, and I really loved that book so much, and I will reread it one day, but right now I don't think that my heart can take it. The last book that I want to talk about is Jaws, and that was written by Peter Benchley, and I read this book last year. I'm not sure if a lot of people have read the book. I know probably that most people have seen the movie. I, for one, have not seen the movie, so I decided to read the book, and I was very impressed with the book. I was kind of surprised at how much I actually enjoyed it. Because it's an older book, I didn't think that I was going to enjoy it as much as I did, but basically, if you don't know what it's about a great white that is attacking people on the beaches, and they can't seem to catch the shark, so it's intense and very suspenseful, and there's scenes in the book where they're just sitting on a boat and they're just waiting and waiting and waiting for something to happen. And the anticipation of something happening is what made this book very suspenseful for me. And then something big would happen and it would scare the living crap out of me. It still was really enjoyable, and I really need to watch the movie. But right now, I definitely do recommend reading that book if you haven't already. So those are all of the books that I'm going to talk about today for this recommendations video. I hope that you guys enjoyed it. Please let me know in the comments below if you've read any of these books, and also let me know what type of recommendations video you'd like me to do next, or if you don't want me to do them again, just let me know, because I would like to do what you guys want to watch. So let me know in the comments below, and I will see you guys in my next video. Bye!